So the latest disappointment is West Virginia loses by 17 to a team that was 0-5 in the Big 12. And now, who knows? Neil Brown, is he coaching his final games? We will talk about, of course, the Iowa State game, Neil Brown and Oklahoma coming up. West Virginia Mountaineers live right here at the Voice of College Football. We're here every Friday night with you, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Please join us each week and bring some friends with you. We've got one here, Golden Blue Dudes here. Good to see you, man.
It's good to be back, man. We had some sickness that went through the house, but we're up and running again, so I'm happy to be back, man.
Excellent. Good to see you. And, yeah, leave those comments and questions, folks. We will get to them. And, keep in mind to get on over to Golden Blue Dudes channel. And also that we've got a West Virginia channel here at the Voice of College Football. And we're trying to get to 1,000 subs. So please subscribe there. I will leave the link in the live chat.
I have a feeling that if we would have started this during a season where West Virginia was really, really good, we'd already be at the 1,000. Unfortunately, we picked one of the worst seasons that I've seen in 30 years.
Yeah, it is in that range at 3-6. One win in the Big 12 and losing to Iowa State. Now, Iowa State's not a bad football team, but they're not a good football team. They got a great defense. They had the number one defense in the Big 12. So the alarming thing, besides the loss, because you were kind of playing for last place in the Big 12, and West Virginia, I guess, took that illustrious position, is giving up 31 points to Iowa State, because Iowa State, you look at their scoring outputs this season, they have not been good. That's why they came in at 0-5 in the Big 12, but West Virginia found a way to give up 31.
Yeah, the problem with that game is, for whatever reason, the past two games, West Virginia's offense has kind of hit a rut. Before that, it was our offense was basically carrying our team because our defense is so bad, but we were still putting up enough points to either win or at least make it close. Past two games, it hasn't been the case. And with the Iowa State game, I wasn't able to actually watch it because it was on ESPN Plus, and I don't have that. But keeping track of the scoring drives, in the fourth quarter, Iowa State led 17-14, and West Virginia had a chance, to take the lead there. But once again, we couldn't put points up on the board. And in the fourth quarter, that's when you have a bad defense, that's especially bad because you have a bad defense that's starting to wear out, and we allowed 2 more touchdowns there in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so that's now 3-6, like we mentioned, 1-5 in the conference. And let's talk about what everybody's talking about. Neil Brown. So Scott Frost was number one on the hot coaches list, and bam, gone. The hot seat list then was taken over by Brian Harsin, gone. We've seen other guys that weren't necessarily considered at that point, but they've been ushered out. So we're at about 5 coaches right now. And Neil Brown, he's pretty much everyone's number one right now.
Well, they can take him off because it has been confirmed that Shane Lyons says he's not going anywhere. President Gordon Gee says Shane Lyons isn't going anywhere. So all the way up to the top, there's not going to be any movement. From what I'm hearing, as of right now, his job is safe until the end of 2023. So he has until now, until the end of next year, not this year, next year, to get things turned around. And I'm completely baffled. It seems like we're not as much of a rush as everybody else to have a winning football team. So it's disheartening because whenever you have a bad team, the 2 examples you just put up there, Nebraska and Auburn, they're doing something about it. They seen enough. It's not working out. Time to move on and see if we can find a better coach. And for Auburn, it's especially crazy because they just ate a historic buyout with Gus Malzahn. Now they're going to have to eat another buyout with Brian Harsin. But that just tells you how committed Auburn is at winning in football. And it just, like, West Virginia is showing the entire nation that we're not that committed. We're going to give him some more time and see what happens. And this is year 4. This isn't year 2 or even year 3. This is year 4. Like, he's had more than enough time. And if you've watched West Virginia since 2020, that's when we peaked. And that's when Shane Lyons ushered that doofus of an extension giving Neil Brown an extension up until 2026, and then a stupid buyout, and here we are. So it just seems like Shane Lyons has too much pride and doesn't want to admit that he royally screwed up.
And definitely correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't watch every game start to finish, but I watch all the major games. And this team was, even though last season was disappointing at 6-7 after a bowl loss to Minnesota, much more competitive against good teams last year.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. I talked about that in the offseason because 4 of our 6 losses last year were 50-50 football games. And I was confident that West Virginia did enough in the offseason on the offensive side of the ball to kind of flip a few of those 50-50 football games. And if you've watched West Virginia this year, our offense actually does look much better. If we would have had the offense that we have this year, last year, I do think we would have been an 8-4 or 9-3 type of team. But for whatever reason, the defense fell off a cliff. And ever since Jordan Leslie took over at defensive coordinator, our defense has been taking steps backwards. In 2020, we went from elite to 2021, like in the 50s in scoring defense. This year, we're like in the 100s in scoring defense. Last year was tolerable because our defense kept us in football games that we really didn't have any business in being in, and we just needed some type of boost on the offense. We got that in the offseason, and our defense takes a bigger, massive step backwards this year. So I don't know what the answer is. If I made a video earlier today. So the fact is, there's nothing that us as West Virginia fans can do right now. Neil Brown is the head coach. So besides that, what else can we do? Well, I think we need a clean house on the defensive side of the ball. We're not good against the run. We're not good against the pass. The only bright spot on our defense is the defensive line and getting pressure on the quarterback, and that's it. So we need to clean house as far as the coaches go on the defensive side of the ball if we're stuck with Neil Brown.
At what point did you turn from, because I always get the vibe from you and everybody else that we have on here, whether it's Coos or Travis, that you guys were in Neil Brown's camp.
Yep.
And that he needed some time, but that he was doing a decent job. And so at what point did you start to turn the other way and think, you know what, this isn't the guy we need?
Halftime at the Texas game this year. That's exactly when I jumped off the bandwagon because what I wanted to see was just improvement. I know wins and losses, that's the end all be all whenever you're trying to judge success. But whenever you're losing close football games, and that's what, if you look at the first 2 losses for West Virginia, they were close losses on the road to Pitt. We made a terrible decision not to go for it on 4th and 6 inches. I am 100% confident that we would have gotten that first down and we would have been able to ice the game. Boom, we start off 1-0. Then we come back home to Morgantown, and Kansas is better than anybody realized this year. And they got up on West Virginia by 2 scores, but we battled back and sent it to overtime. But still, a loss is a loss. But those were close losses. And then we beat Towson. Then we go on the road and obliterate Virginia Tech. So West Virginia fans are feeling good at 2-2. And then we go on the road to Texas, and we just absolutely lay an egg in the first half against Texas. We did make some adjustments in the second half, and we won the second half 13-10. But going down 28-7 in the first half, that's unacceptable, especially to a backup quarterback. Texas did not have Quinn Ewers that game, and we still got absolutely blasted in the passing game. And what I was seeing is the middle of the field is wide open for West Virginia. If you want to pass on West Virginia, pass down the middle. You will be able to chunk 15, 20 yards easy, and then 30, 50 yards on a lot of occasions as well. So for whatever reason, our linebackers are not in the right position. Our safeties are getting beat left and right. So basically, it's all up to our defensive line to get pressure to stop the run, and our quarterbacks to stop that first move on the wide receivers. Otherwise, if they get beat, then everybody gets beat because the safeties aren't worth anything this year. So short answer to the Texas game.
Halftime of the Texas game. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
I got you. Appreciate everybody being here at the Voice of College Football. Again, Golden Blue Dudes here. We're talking up West Virginia football, and the main topic is on the mind of everybody, Neil Brown and his performance and him being on the hot seat in the media, but as Golden Blue Dude tells us, not with the people that count.
Right.
The recruiting's been pretty good.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. And one thing that I mentioned in the video that I did today was one thing that we can feel good about is the recruiting that Neil Brown's done at West Virginia. But the problem at West Virginia is we have an identity crisis. So the comparison that I like to make is Rich Rod's recruiting versus Neil Brown's recruiting. As far as talent goes, it's pretty similar. Neil Brown might actually be a little bit better. But the biggest difference is Rich Rod knew exactly what type of offense he wanted to run, and he recruited to the strengths of that offense. We were a spread offense, run first, but pass it when we need to. So he went out and recruited Pat White, a dual threat quarterback, but had, he was good in baseball, so he had a great arm, and wide receivers that can block. Key, wide receivers that can block. So he recruited specifically to the game plan of the offense. What we're seeing with West Virginia on the offense, we have some good talent. JT Daniels, he doesn't just suck all of a sudden. It's not like he was great and then, he's just bad this year. No, there's a reason why JT is not having a good season, and it's because of the identity of the offense. And it just seems like all the position players that we have on offense, there's no thing going on. There's no game plan. It's just call plays and see what happens. I mean, that's what our offense looks like. Are we a pro style? Are we a spread? Are we an option? Are we an RPO? A little bit of everything, I guess, but that's not a good plan. I know Lance Leipold makes something like that work at Kansas, but it's still specific. It's a triple option, RPO, passing offense. You have to defend a triple option. Then you have to make sure you got to keep your eyes on the quarterback in case he pulls it and runs. And oh yes, he can throw the ball. But still, it's still a type of offense. It's not just like let's see what plays work and what plays don't work. And we have to stop calling that outside bubble screen on the wide receivers, because obviously, very obviously, our wide receivers can't block. If you want to keep calling that play over and over and over, then you better have recruited wide receivers that can block, because that play takes wide receivers that block. So it just looks like the play calling doesn't fit the players that we've recruited. They're great players, but we don't have the game plan that suits those players. It's like, here's a good example. It's like recruiting an outside linebacker and telling him to play safety. One of the best outside linebackers in the nation, okay? And then telling him to play safety. Well, he's going to look like crap because he has no idea how to play safety.
There it is. There it is. There it is. So Oklahoma's coming up this week in Morgantown. 8-point favorite are the Sooners, and then two more. There's only 3 precious games left in the season.
Yep.
Of course, West Virginia's got to win all 3 to become bowl eligible.
Yeah.
So how important
we
is
were in
that?
a similar situation last year where we had to win the last 2 games to get bowl eligible, but it was against a bad Texas at home. And then last year, not terrible Kansas, but not this year's Kansas on the road. And we did so. This is 3 games, and this is 3 games against 2 really good teams and 1 average team in Oklahoma. And it's weird that I'm calling Oklahoma the average team and not one of the other 2 teams, but it is what it is. Oklahoma's having a down year this year. That's really the only thing that gives me hope as far as West Virginia winning this game. It's in Morgantown. Oklahoma's not really the Oklahoma that we're used to seeing. And we do have some matchups that favor us. I don't know what kind of showing we're going to have as far as attendance. Usually, no matter what the records are, whenever it comes to Oklahoma, we have a pretty good showing. And I'm torn about attendance because I am done supporting this coaching staff. So myself, I live in the upstate South Carolina. I'm not buying any more tickets this year. I was going to go to the Baylor game in Oklahoma. We're a train wreck. I'm not wasting that much money and driving that far to go to a game. So for me, I'm not supporting this coaching staff by spending my money. But at the same time, you don't want to punish the players and you don't want to hurt recruiting by having a bad atmosphere. So I'll leave that up to people that live up there, the season ticket holders. Y'all do whatever you feel like you need to do. If you want to support the team, I'm behind you. If you feel like you need to send a message towards the coaching staff and say, hey, we're not supporting this, I'm not going to the game, I'm behind that as well.
Does anything outside of winning 3 consecutive games, getting to a bowl game, I won't even say winning the bowl game, but winning or at least looking competitive against a decent team, anything besides that is that going to give you more confidence about Neil Brown going forward?
No, in fact, whenever in the preseason, I said I would be okay with 7-5 as long as we were competitive in the losses. So here we are sitting at 3-6. Even if we win three in a row and get to a bowl, there's some losses that we were not competitive. So combining 6-6 with some blowout losses, no, I'm not going to feel good whatsoever. All that tells me is we're inconsistent and we finish strong.
Okay, folks, we'll take your comments and questions here at the Voice of College Football. So join in the live chat, leave those comments and questions. We'll pass them along. We're talking Oklahoma football in a few minutes with David Bressler coming on. Sooners 8-point favorites, 68 over under. That's a pretty high
it is
mark there. And
I do think Oklahoma's finding their groove on offense. So I think and West Virginia does have a good offense. We've had a bad last 2 games, but Oklahoma does not have a good defense. So I think the over-under reflects that both of these teams does not have a good defense and that the offenses are capable of putting up points. So I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game. My final score prediction was West Virginia 34, Oklahoma 28. So not super high, but still, 4 or 5 touchdowns for both teams.
Is there anyone on this team that you are happy about that has maybe jumped out and
CJ
surprised you a bit?
CJ Donaldson, he came out of nowhere. Nobody was even talking about him in the preseason, and he just burst onto the scene in the backyard brawl. But the problem with CJ Donaldson is he's gotten banged up. He got concussed and then had another injury. I'm not sure what his status is for this game, but as far as a bright spot and unexpected surprise, definitely CJ Donaldson. And on a side note, the press conference that Neil Brown held earlier this week really ticked me off. So he didn't come out and say we're about to lose recruits or we're going to or we're in the process of, but he kind of danced around and hinted at, we could possibly lose some recruits because of the negativity around and surrounding the football program. Basically, he was talking about YouTube channels like myself, other social media outlets that have been calling this train wreck out, speaking the truth. I mean, the truth is going to be there whether we talk about it or not. We're talking about something that's there, the truth, and addressing it. So he's blaming possibly losing some of these recruits on people like myself, pointing out some of the bad stuff that's going on at West Virginia, instead of saying, hey, we could possibly be losing some recruits because we're 3-6 and we look bad.
Well, it's the job of the media to tell the truth. We don't get near enough of that these days, but that's the job of the media, to investigate, research, tell the truth, and not to support the university or the team to make them look good or to skew the truth to make them look good.
Well, that's why I'll never have a West Virginia media pass, because I don't say exactly what they want me to say. And I'm fine with that. I've realized that. I've accepted it. It's not, kissing rear end is not who I am. I mean, you know me. Kissing rear end, that's just not me.
Have you tried to get one?
No, I haven't tried, but I've talked to another source, Brad Smith, the voice of Motown. He has a similar style to me, a little more over the top, and he's told me he's been rejected. Well, he used to have one, and it was taken away, and since then it's been rejected multiple times because of those reasons. So I haven't tried. I will try because you can't give up before the fight even happens. So I will try, but I don't expect to be accepted as a media member.
Okay.
We'll see. Never know. Stranger things happen.
GBD's here talking up West Virginia football, taking on Oklahoma. And we've got David Bressler coming on the line. He's going to talk up the Sooners as well. Of course, they're 5-4. They broke a bit of a minor losing streak. No, that's right. This past weekend, they lost to Baylor, of course, 38-35. So it's not been good for the Sooners either. A couple disappointing football teams getting together in Morgantown. David, how you doing? Hello, David. You got us?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing just fine. How's it going?
Doing good. Oh, my camera's all messing up. Sorry, I'm on an old Android cell phone. My apologies. It's going
That's
good.
all right. Just so we can hear you first and foremost. That is best. So I'll get it started out just to get your take on Brent Venables, because we know what the Oklahoma standard is. They've ruled the Big 12 since pretty much the start of the college football playoff, and Lincoln Riley takes off. I think people that are reasonable can understand a step back before more steps forward because of personnel changes and losing so much offensive firepower. But where would you stand on Brent Venables' performance thus far?
Obviously, it's been pretty disappointing, but can't really make any bones about it. You know, it's been a big turnover and a big change at the program. So just got to be patient. I don't have any problems with him. I think he can get it turned around, hopefully.
The only thing that I'll say about Oklahoma is the defense is not what I was expecting. And I know it's a big turnover, but Brent Venables is known as a defensive guy. I mean, he had some of the best defenses over there at Clemson. So I'm not an Oklahoma fan, but still I'm a college football fan. So I would say for me, the biggest disappointment that I've seen from Oklahoma is their defense, because I just expected them not to have a super elite defense, but to have a better defense than what they have, if that makes any sense.
No, I totally agree. You know, I mean, what are we here? Gosh, we're 111th in the nation in defense this year. I think a lot of it we just don't have the playmakers that we've used to back in the day. Recruiting on defense at OU the last few years, seems like the last 10 years has been a struggle for us. So hopefully BB can get it turned around. You know, I definitely have faith in him. But we shall see. It's going to be a good game in Morgantown. These games are always close, high scoring. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, the only difference with this one, and I kind of touched on it earlier, is both teams having a letdown year. And I talked about it in the video I made earlier, that if we beat Oklahoma, yes, it would be the first time we beat them since joining the Big 12, and that's a big deal. But other than that, like, it's weird, because usually the matchup between Oklahoma and West Virginia means a lot more than this. I remember in 2018, you know, both West Virginia and Oklahoma were in playoff talks. Oklahoma came in and beat us. It was a great game, kind of derailed our season, and we kind of, fell off from then. But this year, it's more like, I guess we can beat them, and if we do, we break a streak. Other than that, and it's not like we would be even beating a good Oklahoma team. We'd be breaking the streak and beating a mediocre Oklahoma team. So I don't even know how great I would feel with the win over Oklahoma, even though we've never beat them in the Big 12. That's where I am as a West Virginia fan.
No, I totally agree, man. I said I think that 2018 game, what was it, 59-56? Said it's been some great games between us, and it is kind of a letdown this year that both teams just aren't up to snuff anymore. So
wasn't there like a 62-59 game or something like that as well?
Yeah, there's that. God,
a lot of good ones.
See, 2017, yeah, there have been.
So with the defense, to get back to that, it was my general thought that while Brent Venables should be able to build a better defense in the next 2 or 3 years with getting his guys in the building with an upgrade in defensive recruiting. That if you're a defensive guru, if that's what you do, if you're known as one of the best, that you're going to improve whatever is given to you. You should be able to take the defense and the defensive personnel from last year and improve that product, regardless of not having the guys that you want, if you're really as good as we believe that you are.
Yep. I couldn't agree more with you. It's been a really let down. I even asked GBD. I talked a lot of trash on his channel about how OU was going to be so good this year, and it's just been it's been weird as a Sooner fan. You know, I haven't been this bad since the '90s, and I was a little top back then, but you know, for the last 20 years, OU has been you know, top tier team, and it's just different this year. So a lot of people are always scared to change and want to have that fast mentality of got to do it now, you got to do it now, you got to do it now. You know, you have to be patient and rebuild the team. You can still do it these days, obviously through recruiting and through the portal, but some programs are going to take a little bit longer. And on your defense standpoint, Venables, his scheme is supposedly pretty complex and really hard to learn. I don't know if it's that, or my main thing is just they don't have a lot of the playmakers like they used to. Lost some talent to the NFL last year, and obviously guys left through the portal, and so our team was totally gutted. And now, I really think Brent can do it. I hope he can. You know, some people are mad and some people aren't. I'm not. You know, I'm a patient man, and you just gotta wait.
To your point, what you just said, what I'm hearing is the biggest issue with Oklahoma. What you just said is very complex as far as the defensive scheme goes. I'm hearing that it's the language and communication issue that's really holding the defense back right now. But they're confident that once, you know, the communication and the language of the defense is nailed down, everybody understands what's going on and they understand each other, because a lot of people don't realize this, but a Brent Venables defense is a very communicated defense. It's not like they call a play and you're running the play. I mean, there's checks, there's switches, a bunch of stuff going on at the same time. I mean, at Clemson, as a defensive coordinator, he literally had a guy that had to hold him back because he was constantly throwing out signs before, during, and after the snap. So these players are going to have to learn not just, you know, the skill level, but mentally. They're going to have to be, you know, they're going to have to be sharp, because he likes to communicate during all three phases: before snap, during the snap, and after the snap. And I think once that gets nailed down, then we're going to see a defense that people are like, man, that's not only is it a good defense, but it looks great. The Brent Venables defenses, they're not just good, but they have that look where it's just like, wow, that looks amazing. How are they doing that?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. They use a lot of motion and, you know, a lot of disguised blitzes, a lot of stunts. So, you know, guys just got to learn, like you said, learn the new lingo and get it communicated to their teammates properly. That's a lot of it. You're exactly right, man. Exactly right.
Because with him, it's the opposite. Usually with the offense, you have a quarterback that's reading the defense, and they like to switch things up, right? Pre-snap adjustments, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
But for his defenses, it's the opposite. They're looking at the offense, and then they're calling switches and adjustments pre, during, and after snap. So I think that'll get you know, settled in. I like the comment that was on the screen earlier about what West Virginia needs to do on defense, because us rushing 3 and sending 8 men back isn't working. That was 100% correct. And we are in game 10? We're in game 10, right? It's not working. We're 3-9. It's not working. All right. Why can't we start taking chances and start blitzing? What's the worst thing that can happen? We get blown out. That's already happening. They you know, catch us on a long route. It already happens. People chunk 50, 60 yards like it's nothing. So if that's already part of the game, let's start blitzing and hurrying up the quarterback and making him make those decisions faster, because our coverage is bad. So instead of making those bad coverage defensive backs cover, send them in, make them blitz, do something else with them because it's not working what they're doing now.
No, you're exactly right. Exactly right. So
Neil Brown's afraid to adjust and take risks. That's one of his biggest problems. He is strictly an analytics guy, and that's one of the reasons why we didn't go for it on 4th and 6 inches. He said, the chances of them scoring after we flipped the field was in our favor. If I had to do it over again, I probably would have done it again. I'm thinking, you're not – it's like he forgot that West Virginia was averaging 8 yards a carry in the run game. We were 6 inches, not 6 yards, 6 inches away from a first down. It's like all that he wasn't thinking about. He was just thinking about the fact, well, if we miss it here, then the chances of them scoring is higher than if we punt it. Of course that's true, but it's 6 inches and we're averaging 6 yards, over 6 yards. So if you're a for real analytics guy, you should have went for it.
Well, you're exactly right, dude. If y'all want to win, you need to go for it for 4th down every time against Oklahoma because we are absolutely horrid on 4th down.
Yes.
I mean, that's what cost us the game last week against Baylor because we gave up too many 4th downs.
Did you watch Texas Tech and TCU versus West Virginia? Those two schools love to fast. I mean, they've done games where they've called 100 plays in a game, and they saw that West Virginia's defense was bad. If it was 4th and 10 or shorter, they were going for it, and they got it pretty much every time. That's how bad our defense is. If Neil Brown was on the other side of the sideline and the same thing was exactly true, he would still punt on 4th down. He is too conservative. He has got to take more chances. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
No, as bad as our defense has been this year, it wouldn't be surprised to see you guys in a lot of 3rd and shorts, 4th and shorts. And if I was Neil Brown, I'd go for it every time because our guys couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag, it seems.
Yeah.
So
first three games on the screen by the Michigan guy. I will disagree with the D line. The linebackers are too small, and the safeties are inexperienced. So the biggest problem with our defense is the middle of the field in the passing game. I actually think that the bright spot on our defense is the defensive line getting pressure on the quarterback. They're not that great against the run game, but they're good at getting pressure. But the biggest problem is our linebackers for sure. They're undersized, way too small, and our safeties are very, very inexperienced. I know the transfer portal has hurt us in the past couple of years, but it seems like he's recruited decently on defense. I guess he forgot about depth. I don't know.
No, David, I was just going to say that the recruiting has not suffered despite all these losses and a few blowout losses. It looked really bad when they started losing conference games. They've got a top 5 recruiting class, although they had a decommit a few days ago, and there's rumors of some others.
Anthony Hill, I believe.
Traylon Ray, too. Gallagher is a top 100 recruit for West Virginia. He's done interviews, and he's holding firm. Traylon Ray, we just won him less than 2 weeks ago, and we beat out Tennessee, Florida State, a bunch of high-caliber teams. It's not like we're beating like East Carolina and Appalachian State with these guys. This guy's a 4-star wide receiver, and we're still beating these SEC teams. I'm like, what in the world is he telling these recruits? We suck, and we're not really known for our NIL game. So, I mean, however he's doing it, he's winning and recruiting. It's just not translating onto the field yet. It makes no sense, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was hitting up David on OUs in that they're in the top 5 to 6 in the nation. They did lose the edge rusher who flipped to Texas a few days ago, and there's a couple other possible decommits, but it's been a strong recruiting offseason.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, Colton Vasek was the edge that flipped back to Texas. Of course, he came out and supposedly said that when he went to the OU Texas game, it didn't feel right being there as an OU commit. So, and he always grew up a Longhorns fan. So, a lot of the inside guys really knew that he was probably going to flip back to Texas just due to that. His parents have season tickets there, so it's just one of those things. And I think Anthony Evans, a wide receiver out of Converse Judson in San Antonio, he's supposedly going to flip to Georgia is what I've been hearing. So other than that, I haven't heard anything else harder than those two guys.
Do you
But
think
big
that
loss for
edge
him.
rusher was a troll commit? Like, something's not making sense about that. Why would he commit to Oklahoma if he's been a long time Texas fan? His parents have season tickets to Texas, and he said it didn't even feel right being an Oklahoma commit at the rivalry game. Something that doesn't sound right at all.
That's the same thought.
I'm being honest. That sounds like a troll commit.
It sounds like it to me too, man. Like that's just I've thought that ever since he committed, and I heard that story come out a while back, and thought, well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Texas families usually tend to stay in the family. They don't. Right. A lot of their kids, follow their parents right through the school. A lot of my family is Texas alum, so I know the deal. Yeah. It's one of those hated rivalries in all of college football. We don't like Texas and they don't like us, and we understand that. But that's what makes it fun.
With the state of Texas, it's completely different than anywhere else. I know Alabama's the king of football when it comes to national championships, but the king of football when it comes to a lifestyle is the state of Texas more than any state in the nation. So that's one of the biggest things that really made me scratch my head when this story came out is, okay, he grew up in Texas. He is a Texas fan. His family has season tickets, and yet he committed to Oklahoma. And then of course comes out, I didn't feel right being an Oklahoma commit, being at that rivalry game. So why did you commit to Oklahoma? The only thing that makes sense to me is something was in the gravy on that one.
No, yeah, I totally agree. It was a weird deal, but we just got to move on, and we still have a good recruiting class for our first year and how bad we've been. So
yeah,
a record's always gonna, it's. I don't want to trash Norman, but Norman's not Florida or California. It's Norman, Oklahoma. It's
Lincoln Riley not only said
okay.
that, but he exploded.
It's not the best place in the world, but
past that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Baker Mayfield, he grew up right in Austin, Texas too. But he grew up an OU fan and obviously played there, but he was the same thing, grew up in Austin. So OU does a really good job at recruiting Texas, and it's been a bloodline for OU for a long, long time. And we just a lot of it, our past recruiting has kind of gone south in state, which is sad. OU used to get the top guys out of Oklahoma, and it's kind of hard to do that anymore because guys want to go play elsewhere.
I can understand that. How does how do Oklahoma fans feel about being able to play Missouri, Arkansas, and Texas A&M again?
I love it. I used to love those games back in the day, before they left. They were always great games, and to play Arkansas, that'll be a fun matchup as well. So yeah. I'm excited. A little scared. I don't think we're going to do all that great in the SEC for at least maybe 2 to 3 years. But hopefully Brent can get some recruiting classes built up and lead us to an SEC championship one day. That'd be great. But like I said, I'm patient.
Weird. Whenever I heard the announcement that Texas and Oklahoma was going to the SEC, I was like, man, Oklahoma's going to be fine, but man, Texas is going to get beat up. Well, Texas is actually having a good year, and Oklahoma is taking a step back. Maybe both of y'all is going to be just fine, right away going into the SEC. Texas kind of surprised me this year. They've looked pretty good.
And that might be the recruiting boost that Oklahoma needs on the defensive side is kind of like Texas A&M. Once you put that SEC decal on your chest, maybe that's going to get them into some more, because that's been a Big 12 issue, defensive recruiting outside of Texas. If all you have to do is look at the NFL draft and see that the Big 12 has had a huge issue acquiring elite and future NFL defensive players, and maybe Oklahoma can get more in the running for some of those guys with Venables and with the SEC decal.
No, I agree with that. It's going to be bigger than people realize. I mean, we all know it's going to be big, but I think it's going to surprise some people. Now, us that are true experts at college football that knows what's coming. it's not going to surprise us. But like the casual fan that knows the boost is coming, they don't realize how big of a boost that's going to be. Especially, it's not like you're bringing in Missouri or some smaller brand, which Missouri's not a bad brand, but definitely smaller than Oklahoma and Texas. You're bringing in two of the biggest brands available into the SEC, so their brand strength alone is great. And now you're slapping an SEC logo on top of that. It's going to be insane.
No, you're right. I think it is too. I said it's just going to take a lot of time. I really think it will. It's, but slapping that brand on you just means the school gets more money, in my opinion. And yes, it will lead to better recruiting also. But a lot of it was for the money.
Yeah. Well, it's going to help with the NIL too. You can't forget about the NIL, and the NIL.
You're right too.
That's going to help with your NIL a lot.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
So how do you feel about this game in Morgantown?
Well, I wrote a lot of stats down here, and on paper, it should be a really close game, in my opinion. OU's offense, this is going off total defense, but so mind you, OU's 24th and West Virginia is 55th, and our defenses are just as bad. We're 111th and you're 100th. So it's.
I will say this: the reason our offense is 55th right now is because of the last two games. If you looked at our stat before these last two games, we were actually 31st. So
y'all have been really good at home too.
Yes,
very good at home. I've watched a few games. Haven't watched a lot of them, but no, y'all have been really good at home. So I think it's going to be a close game, high scoring. The over under is what, 68? You said, Mark?
68. Yep.
That's about right.
I really do. I think it could even go over, to be honest with you.
Well, here's a good comparison. Here's a good comparison. So even with TCU, they went. Did y'all play TCU at home or on the road?
No, we played TCU in Fort Worth.
Okay, so that was a road game for y'all, and TCU just absolutely blew y'all away. They come to Morgantown, which is different. It's a road game for them instead of a home game. And it was 3 points in the last, couple minutes. They throw in a garbage touchdown in the last 20 seconds and end up covering. So they blew that pick up for me because I took West Virginia the points. I still thought TCU was going to win.
Me too.
But that was, anyways, that's a whole different rant that I've already done. But the point is, West Virginia played TCU much better than I thought they was going to. And it's because they just played better in Morgantown this year. In 2020, we were actually a better road team. Last year, it started to flip around to where we were better at home. And then this year, we are definitely, without a doubt, a better home team. But still not a good team, just better at home.
Yeah. And OU's been better on the road than they have been at home. They've lost K-State and Baylor at home. And obviously the Texas blowout, which was atrocious. And then TCU is obviously a true road game, but other than that, OU's been terrible at home. So hopefully it'll benefit them getting out of the home locker rooms and the comfort and just kind of bonding with each other and getting that mojo back. So we definitely need it. We can't turn the ball over. Obviously, last week we had 3 interceptions, and that's just not going to cut it.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that with West Virginia's defense.
So we made some turnovers last week, but we just, like I said, fourth downs is going to be a key in this game. 3rd and shorts and 4th and shorts is going to be a really big key. So, and then matchup. Hopefully, like I said, we like to run Eric Gray a lot. He's very good running back. Marcus Major, another really good one. So just got to get Braden Willis the ball and get Mims over the top of your safeties, and I think we can do it. I hope so.
I think the key for West Virginia is, number one, the comment that I saw earlier. We can't compete with 3 down linemen and dropping 8. We're just not good at coverage. So we're going to have to take some chances on defense, pressure the quarterback, make him throw it sooner than what he really wants to. We got to get pressure on defense. That's first and foremost. The second thing is, on offense, we have to limit these throwaway calls. There's a bunch of whenever I watch the West Virginia game this year, every time there's at least 1 or 2 throwaway calls per first down. We still, move the chains because we have one good play that chunks us 9-10 yards. but they'll throw that outside screen that either goes for 1 yard or a loss, or they'll throw a delayed draw in there that doesn't work. So the key for us on offense is stop with these throwaway plays. Don't call a play just to be calling a play. Call plays that mean something. Have a purpose. Have a plan. Know what the next play call is going to be. We have to limit those throwaway calls on offense and then pressure on defense. That's my key for West Virginia winning this game. I think our special teams are actually pretty good. We have a good field goal kicker. We've been getting a lot of touchbacks in the kickoff game. We have a great punter. He's been flipping the field a lot. Return game's not great, but it's much better than what it's been in the past 2 years. So I really don't have any issues with special teams. We had the block point after on Baylor, which flipped us 3 points, and we won by 3 points. So we're good on special teams. We have to pressure on defense and limit those trash plays, the throwaway plays.
No, couldn't agree more. I have a lot of the same complaints too. We blitz too much on 4th down, and our offensive line play hasn't been very good. D-line, we can't get any pressure on the quarterback hardly. Although we have 10 interceptions on the year, which is not great at all. It's horrible, in fact. But no, I totally agree, man. We got a lot of throwaway plays, and I think our offense goes. I like up tempo offenses, just not that up tempo.
Yeah, because when you go 3 and out, or you don't move the chains very much, then you're not giving your defense much of a rest. That was one of the biggest issues that we had under Dana Holgerson. We scored a lot of points, but there were some games where the offense just wasn't clicking, and we go 3 and out in 30 seconds. That's terrible for the defense.
No, you're right. It keeps them on the field way too long, and they get tired. And by the middle of the 3rd quarter, they're broke, and they're huffing and puffing and hands on the hips. Man, can't have that.
Exactly.
Can't have that at all. So,
all right. Well, West Virginia's only going to get a few more shots at Oklahoma before the Sooners jump off to the SEC, which I got to say is a bit surprising to me that this realignment, the expansion, the move to the SEC has been put off this far, because that was announced the summer of 21.
Yep.
And
using a lot of debt.
They're not moving until 2025.
It's that buyout.
We're looking
at
OU.
The program is in a lot to debt, man.
Yep.
And that's a big buyout. So
what I guess the SEC doesn't want to pay the buyout.
Yeah.
Oklahoma doesn't want to pay it.
That the Big 12 would. I can see the Big 12 wanting those two schools to be playing football in their league, for as much as they're pissed off and bitter about it. Which
absolutely. Yep.
They have those two teams in their league for as long as possible to reap the benefits. But I'm a bit surprised that the SEC has not done something to maybe help out that buyout, because they want to get on with their new format, their new league going forward. So we're looking at 5 seasons of knowing that Oklahoma and Texas are moving on. It's crazy. We've not seen that.
It's definitely been a long wait, and it's really strange. It's really strange, because I think back in the day.
I was just going to say, what's really going to be strange, but I like it because I like oddities in sports, is having the 4 new entries into the Big 12 next season to play while Texas and Oklahoma. That's what I was wishing. I was wishing that Texas and Oklahoma would still be around to bring in the other 4, have a 16-team league, and
the overlap,
and see games that we would otherwise never see. Cincinnati play Oklahoma, and UCF play Texas, and all the various matchups that we never see.
And if that was for only 1 year, then you'd only see a few of those matchups. But since they're coming next year, and Oklahoma and Texas can't leave till 2025, then we have 3 years to get as many of those weird matchups that we haven't seen. And I think we could pretty much get most of them in. Maybe not all of them, but most of them.
No, yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to those matchups too. It's gonna be quite intriguing. I like the teams that don't play each other very much. I like them to play. It's fun to compare this league. Is this league really so much better than this league? And
absolutely.
So we can sit here and banter and talk all you want about if these leagues are better than these leagues, but until they match up on the field, then there's no way to really fully understand. And stats are only going to tell you so much as well. So
Yeah, exactly.
I also like the results showing us that one school or the other, or one conference or the other, can kind of stick their chest out, meaning that if Texas and Oklahoma play in the last two Big 12 championships, they can kind of wave off the Big 12 and say we're off to the SEC and look at, we proved how good we are. But at the same time, on the flip side, if they don't reach the big, if they play 5 consecutive seasons, we've already got one in, and we may get 2 in, although Texas, certainly it's a shot at the Big 12 championship game, and those 2 schools can't reach the Big 12 championship game, then, they're still going to go make their money, and they'll be fine, and of course win a lot of football games going forward. But the Big 12 can at least have some, I'm sure it doesn't do the Big 12 commissioner or the higher ups in the Big 12 much good watching 2 teams play in championship games that are leaving the league, as opposed to highlighting and putting on a big stage the teams that are staying, like Baylor and Oklahoma State last year.
Well, I think it's safe for this year that Oklahoma is not going to be in the Big 12 championship, but Texas could still make it. But I mean, we could be looking at TCU, Kansas State, TCU, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas. And tomorrow is going to say a lot about that, because Texas gets the chance to beat them head to head, and that would help with them as far as getting to the Big 12 championship.
All right, David, we appreciate you stopping by to break down some Sooners football for us.
No, thanks for having me on. This is my first time ever doing this, so sorry if it was terrible or bad, but I had a lot of fun talking it. It was a good time.
You did better than I do sometimes, man. What are you talking about?
Thanks for being here, man.
No way, man. I just like to talk to people about football. I love it. I'm a huge OU fan, huge college football fan. And even though the season's been down and out, it'll get turned around. It'll get turned around. People just have to be patient and just got to work it. That's all you got to do. So,
absolutely. All right, David, enjoy the game. Enjoy all the football this weekend.
Yes, sir. Y'all too. Thank you.
Have a good weekend, bud. There
we go. The take on Oklahoma, Sooners and Mountaineers.
If Oklahoma was as good as like a TCU or Kansas State, then I wouldn't have any hopes of us winning tomorrow. But Oklahoma is not a very good football team. West Virginia's played at a very high level at home. So I do think West Virginia wins this football game. But to me, that doesn't get me excited. That gets us to 4-6, right?
Yeah.
Yes. 2 more games, we're bowl eligible, but those last 2 games, Kansas State at home and Oklahoma State on the road. Now, let's say if the improbable happens and we do win out and we're 6-6 and we get to a bowl, that still doesn't excite me. So that's where I am as a West Virginia fan. I'm still supporting them. I'm still going to watch every game. By the way, live stream again tomorrow, noon kickoff against Oklahoma. We'll be live here on Golden Bluted. But as far as being excited about West Virginia football, I lost it. And I started losing it in the Texas game because we're not very competitive.
That's the bottom line right there. Not competitive. And Sooners, Mountaineers get together. West Virginia with only a few attempts here at breaking that long losing streak against OU. And, like you said, Baylor's a better football team than Oklahoma. They won that matchup last weekend. They're not a lot better than Oklahoma, but they're better. They went to Morgantown this season, 3 or 4 weeks ago. They came away with an L. So certainly I have not made my pick on the game. I'm going to have to think about it a little bit, but it would not surprise me either way. Now, Oklahoma is a pretty substantial favorite in this game, but again, West Virginia at home, traditionally a tremendous home field advantage there. They beat a comparable team in Baylor that's a little bit better than OU. So there you go.
Yeah, it hasn't helped that we have 6 road trips on our schedule this year. That's hurt us as well, especially when you're not a good road team.
All right, big watch party with GBD at noon Eastern time. So get on over there to Golden Blue Dudes channel to watch West Virginia and Oklahoma and talk college football. I'll be doing what I do all day on Saturday, all sorts of instant analysis and so forth throughout the day, post-game shows all over the place on our variety of channels. All right, GBD, anything else you got to deliver tonight?
Well, for tomorrow, if you come stop by, watch Going Unbluted for the live show, win or lose, I promise you, you're going to see a crazy Going Unbluted. I can't help it. I get emotionally wrapped into it. Like 3 and 6 goes out the window whenever I'm actually watching the game. Even if we win, there's some things that I see throughout the game that makes me go absolutely ballistic. So if you want to see a crazy person, then come on over and check Going Unbluted out for the West Virginia-Oklahoma game.
There you go. Look up Voice of College Football West Virginia. We want to build that channel up to 1,000 subs. We got about 280 to go. We're only in the 720 range, so we got some work to do, folks.
But in a bad season, that's not bad. I think if this was a good season, we'd be there.
Okay. I'm not totally convinced, but okay.
Y'all, see, I can only talk. Y'all have to convince him. Y'all have to sub and convince him.
Before we leave, I am looking that channel up, and we are going to drop the link, which I intended on doing earlier. We're going to drop that link, and we should see this jump 10 or 15 is what we should see. So everybody that likes West Virginia football, that's an obvious call. It's an obvious call to get over there. But even if you don't like the Mountaineers, we've done this before. Just do it for me. Do it to build and grow the channels. And then if it is that much of a problem for you being a subscriber to a West Virginia channel, you know what? As soon as we get past 1,000, unsubscribe.
And you don't have to have the notifications rung. Just hit the subscribe. Here's a good example. I'm a West Virginia fan. I'm subscribed to all of Mark's other channels, the Iowa channel, the Ohio State channel,
I appreciate
all of them.
that.
Because it's about supporting this college football brand. It's not about being a West Virginia fan or an Ohio State fan or an Iowa fan or a Michigan fan. It's just about us supporting each other. And right now, the West Virginia channel needs y'all's support. So just hit the link, hit the subscribe, and that's it. It's over. You don't have to do any more. You don't have to watch one single video on the West Virginia channel. We just need that subscriber count to hit 1,000.
And the reason we make a big deal about 1,000 is not that it's some shiny number. Sure, it sounds good. It sounds better than 722 or whatever, but it's about YouTube taking that channel seriously. So once you get to 1,000, YouTube takes note of that, says, okay, we're going to start pushing those videos and that content out in traffic. But we didn't do that before because this channel needs to prove that it can gain subscribers and people like it. Now we're going to start pushing some content out there.
Yep.
So that's
all about the YouTube algorithm, and that 1,000 subscriber mark is a big deal to that YouTube algorithm.
Look at D-Rock Irish. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate that. A lot of people in that boat, D-Rock Irish, that have subscribed to channels that they've about has made them throw up. You know, Miami fans subscribing to Notre Dame channels and Florida State channels, and I get it. Ohio State fans subscribing to Michigan channels. So I appreciate you guys doing that for us here at the Voice of College Football. And again, thank you so much for that. GBD, noon Eastern time on his channel, Golden Blue Dude. Check out West Virginia Football Talk and talking all of college football over there at noon Eastern time tomorrow. And I will be here all day tomorrow as well. All right, GBD, appreciate you making it happen tonight.
Sounds good to me, man. I had a good time. Hopefully you had a good time too.
Absolutely. I'm going to stay on the line here. Actually, we're going to fire up a new stream. I'm not going to be around for long. I'm just going to take a few calls. We're not doing any kind of 2 or 3 hour marathon tonight. We're going to take just a few calls from all of you and call it a night quickly on a Friday night. GBD, thanks a lot.
Appreciate you having me, bud, as usual.